Battalion 1.
We just had a plane crash into Alpha 4 of the World Trade Center. Welcome to Jack 2-3. When you see any movement in there, I want you to hit it. Out.
Roger. We're taking fire from roughly building 112,
421 eastbound, red Pontiac G6, near passenger, George Robert.
Car standby. Car standby. 50 officer.
Trade said that tower number 1 is on fire. The whole outside of the building, it was just a huge explosion.
Right outside the building, 33. We're outside the building. 7448 Buffalo.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of The Watch and the War. Today we have Mr. Jeff Klump with us. Jeff, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Happy to have you here. I've been looking forward to chatting with you for a while now, and I'm glad we got to sit down and do this. I know that we're crunched on time, but we'll figure it out, huh? Yeah. So I think we really just I want to start and kind of pick up just on your entry into the Marine Corps. Kind of what made you want to join and why the Marine Corps?
Okay. Yeah. Graduated from Gibson Southern back in 2005. So here locally, I just remember in high school lunch, seeing the Marines walk through. I was like, I want to be that guy. And then,
it's always the uniform.
That's right. And then, I was blessed. I had some pretty good baseball talent. So I went and played college baseball first and got my degree. And I always wanted to join the Marine Corps. And then, my buddy was actually killed in Iraq, James Eric Brown. That was my deciding factor. Like, all right, it's time to put the baseball down and join the Marine Corps. Yeah. So off the long journey went.
Yeah. Yeah. So what college did you go to?
Vincennes University.
Okay. I didn't know you played baseball. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was your major in college?
I actually played 4 years of college baseball, 2 years of Vincennes and 2 years at IU Southeast in New Albany.
Okay.
But I have a bachelor's degree in safety science.
Okay. No idea what that is, Brian?
No idea.
What is safety science?
It's like safety management. So you study like the regulations for like workplace safety for like industrial to construction.
Sounds exhilarating. But yeah, that's going to probably lead into what we'll talk about later, right?
That's right.
So you joined the Marine Corps in 2005?
07, yeah.
07. Okay. Oh yeah, because you went to school first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What MOS were you in?
I was actually first in tanks, 1812. Really? Yep. And then I had a different kind of unique Marine Corps experience because I was first in tanks, and then the whole down draw with Iraq was going on. So then that's when we got cross-trained to be comm engineers. So I spent a little time in tanks and then comm engineers.
So you weren't a combat engineer by trade. You didn't go to combat engineer school or MOS school. You were a tanker.
That's correct. Yes. A lot of times in Iraq and Afghanistan, they're training tankers to be comm engineers because how much maintenance we do on our tanks relates a lot to the MRAPs, mine resistant, ambush protected, the vehicles were.
Yeah, the big giant vehicles that were driving over there at that time. That's interesting. Is that like an easy, natural kind of overlap there between the two? Or is it seems like two completely different things to me.
It was kind of unique to take at first because we went from like in a heavy tank to all of a sudden, here's a metal detector, go find bombs. It's like, oh, here we go.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, we're all excited for the deployment coming up, but we didn't really know what we were doing first. But the Marine Corps did a really good job. We went through about a year of workups of really to understand an IED to your metal detector, all the equipment. So it was very intense training for over a year. Yeah.
Oh man. What IED, for those of you that don't know, improvised explosive device, which everybody probably knows that one by now, just watching enough news. So you worked up for a year and then deployed. What was that deployment? Where'd you go? What'd you do there?
Yeah, which is really wild. Like you and I were talking, a couple months ago, we landed in Garmshear My platoon did.
Yeah.
In Garmer's year. So you were there what year?
I was there in 08.
Oh, wait, I was there in 2012.
Okay.
So
Probably looked a lot different in 2012 than
a lot
08.
different. Yeah. And so we're just dispatched out to go find roadside bombs. Sometimes the locals would give us tips, and sometimes we just like natural routine of just driving down the road looking for roadside bombs, like driving literally 3 to 5 miles per hour.
Man, I got to ask, like, what, I can't imagine the kind of, I don't know how you wrap your mind around that. Like, hey, boys, we're just going to jump in this truck and go look for bombs. Like, what's that like? Like, I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah. Your first push out, it's pretty nerve wracking.
I bet.
Yeah. Because you're looking for roadside bombs, but I mean, we've been training for over a year, so you're so prepared with all the different equipment that you have, and talking about the equipment from the V-shaped bottom of the trucks, help with the blast.
Yep.
To your metal detectors, to all your high-tech camera systems. We even had like a big panel. If you think of like a big panel from a vehicle, shoots a picture in the ground. So that's how we found
really?
a lot of the roadside bombs, by shooting a picture in the ground and say, that's why you're going so slow. It's very technical and very strategic, but we were very prepared for it.
So the V shape, correct me if I'm wrong. It's so if there's a blast from underneath the vehicle, it kind of disperses some of that energy out to the side rather than taking it directly underneath. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. If you think about, like, I was not in Iraq, but you were in Iraq. So you remember the Humvees, how they're just flat bottoms.
Oh yeah.
And a roadside bomb hits a Humvee is a lot different hitting an MRAP what I was in. So good thing what the government did over the years of being in war, they realized there are a lot of casualties in Humvees, so they made the MRAPs V-shaped so it will deflect the blast.
Man, I mean, just coming from like a career, well, at least first half of my career, infantry guy, and you try to avoid IEDs like they're the plague. Like they're like the biggest thing you're scared of. I mean, you'll take shots all day long because that requires somebody being accurate, right? Where you're just walking and then you're just in a radius, you're going to get hurt or killed. And it was always on our mind as like this scary thing. And then I'm sitting here talking to you, and it was like, yeah, that was our main mission, was to drive. And I mean, like when you would find one, because I've seen different attachments on the front, right? Some you just kind of roll over them and they try to detonate them in front, and it just kind of blows the front of the attachment off. But you would actually stop, and then they would address it and try to call an EOD, the enemy ordnance disposal guys, to go, bomb techs to go get rid of it. Is that kind of the plan? Yeah,
we wouldn't call them. We had them embedded with us, so they were with us wherever we went. So we just find them. There was a potential IED. We could go confirm it, and then we would launch our EOD that's with us, a different vehicle behind us, and go up there and dispose it. That's the job I would never want, because as you know, like when there's an IED that blasts, usually there's another one or two or three around you.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, a lot of times they would put dummies out there just to get guys to get out of the vehicle. And then there's either an ambush waiting on them or more IEDs waiting on them. They were getting smart with their tactics with that.
Yeah, once an IED goes off too, like your metal detector is pretty well gone because there's just debris everywhere. Like your metal detector is beeping like.
Yeah, I could see that. Man, and
that's a whole different fight. It's like you said, like I'll take my chances as a guy in an alley with a gunfight, right? It's the best man wins, but it's kind of that's a whole different approach to fighting.
Yeah, we got lucky. I was blessed to where when you're in the Marine Corps, you don't know where you're going to go, and we landed in a spot where it calmed down. The main combat kept pushing north a little bit of me. Yeah. So like we're separated in different platoons. So like first platoon was in a lot more combat, heavy IEDs. We were finding some, but not like I just, God has a plan for everything, right? I just was blessed that we weren't really in a whole lot of combat. They were there, but not like some of these guys.
Yeah, I was just going to ask kind of what your tempo was looking like. How often would you guys come across an IED, like once a week or once a month, or just kind of?
It was always so, definitely during like Ramadan. That was just crazy. I feel like they just then went out and played at night to go play a bunch of IEDs, you know.
Yeah,
Especially sandstorm comes, we know there's going to be IEDs everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, kind of targets of opportunity for them.
Yeah. And combat engineer, there's different types too, you know, like we were in mostly mounted. Like some of those guys are with like the infantry going from door to door.
Oh, yeah.
I felt bad for those guys because they call them toe poppers. They'd be with a melee detector every day helping the infantry go door to door. And the Taliban got so smart, they were just, they call them toe poppers, where a small little blast take off an ankle up to the knee and pin them down. That's how they would ambush them. So thank goodness we weren't part of that. But
yeah,
there's different types of combat engineering.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, I have a broad idea, but I'm sure Brian or even some of the listeners, like, what is kind of the primary job of a combat engineer? I know there's different segments of it, but just kind of from your experience, just if you had to explain what a combat engineer does.
Yeah, they're kind of essentially a jack of all trades, really. They go in, they build new base camps, you know, and then they go out and find roadside bombs. They're kind of jack of all trades, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that they dealt a lot. Like, I would always see those poor guys just digging and filling up HESCO barriers and concertina wire and helping build these little outposts that we would use and filling sandbags. And I was like, oh man, I feel bad for these guys, man. But I was very familiar with those kind of we always had one attached to us when we'd be walking around. And it's just wild to think about. Like there was, you trained for a year to do that. And I mean, it's kind of cool too. It's probably pretty rewarding, I would say. I mean, it's more of like a psychological kind of warfare, like you were alluding at, Brian. It's not just a physical fight, but I feel like I would just be in my head every night when we were rolling out.
It's just always back in your mind, like, where's that IED at?
Yeah.
So we talk a lot in our podcast about, you know, in our careers, as you get into it more, sometimes you find yourself being complacent, right? And getting a little more relaxed. And did you find yourself, did your team, I don't know how in that position you could ever be relaxed or complacent, but I'm sure it happens, right?
At times, yeah. As time goes on, we all know we get a little more relaxed, complacent. I saw it more towards like the end of the deployment, but that was when like some of the down draw was going on in Afghanistan too. So that's when the Taliban started like really attacking some of these small fobs, cops, where like we were sweeping to.
Yeah.
So it kind of kept us on check to make sure it's help be your brother's keeper, you know, like keep your boys in check.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, man, we always talk about it, you know, complacency kills. You see that written on everything. I'm sure you've heard that a few times in your Marine Corps career, but, yeah, I mean, like what were some of the biggest kind of takeaways you got from the Marine Corps? I mean, I know for me, it was like mostly like the guys that I met and hung out with and they're my friends today. I always attribute some baseline discipline and some work ethic to the Marine Corps, but just in, you know, what do you would say some of the things you got out of the Marine Corps?
Yeah, that's one thing that really sticks out to me is like the don't quit attitude, you know, like buckle down, be a man, figure it out, and overcome it. That's anything in life.
Sure.
From being a great father to my kids, to a great husband, to business, you name it, just buckle down and punch through it.
Yeah. That's
having that grit.
Yeah. So one deployment and then back home, and then you got out shortly after that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And then that's when the transition from the Marine Corps to civilian life, it's a real thing.
Let's talk about that. What was your transition like? Because that's a question we always like to ask people, because everybody's got a different story, but most of them are learn the hard way.
Right. I just when I got out of the Marine Corps, it was tough transitioning in because everybody they're on different stages of their life. You know, like a lot of my friends already had kids. You know, they're like living their life different. I came back home, felt like I was just trying to fit in, and I didn't really have anybody to hang out with, to talk to. You know, and the Marine Corps keeps going on, but I got to figure out like how to stay happy myself. You know,
Sure.
So I moved everywhere. I lived in Kokomo for a little bit, Indianapolis, just trying to find out where I can fit in and like get back on my feet.
So even like your friends that you had here in high school, they're just in different stages of life. Is that what you're kind of saying? And you just weren't necessarily on the same path?
Yeah. it's just hard like to talk to people. Like I literally got out of Afghanistan, pretty well checked out and moved back home, and it was just I was on a different life path at that time than my friends.
Yeah. Well, in a different language too.
Different language. It's hard to open up to everybody too.
Yeah, you don't want to open up, and then every other word's a curse word coming out of your mouth usually, and you don't know how to relate to what I call kind of normal people, right?
So in that transition, a lot of the guys that we talk to, guys like us need a purpose, right? So when you left the Marine Corps, did you feel like you didn't know what your purpose was anymore, what next looked like? Was that really a struggle for you?
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, definitely. Because you had that purpose. You were part of something bigger than who you really are. And then I was blessed. I got a really good job with Duke Energy. And that helped me a little bit because those linemen, they're rough and tough, they're understanding. They're really intrigued with the Marine Corps too. Sure. That kind of helped me ground me a little bit. There's still a piece there that I was missing, and I struggled for a little bit, I think everybody does getting out.
Yeah. So like the linemen, I know a couple linemen, but it seems like there's probably some parallels or some overlap there with that kind of like tough guy, you can say dirty jokes and, use foul language, but everybody's pretty tough and they're there to get the job done, even when it's the most dangerous outside. I don't know if were you an actual lineman or did you just kind of hang out with them?
No, that's where my schooling came back in play. I had a degree in safety science. Yeah. So I was actually a safety professional for Duke Energy for the guys working on the power line.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Most of the time, they're like, safety guys here, we'll stop work. But I feel like I had a whole different approach because of my Marine Corps background. I just want to be with the guys and like, how can I help you? Yeah. I'm not here to write you up. Let's work together here.
Yeah. So, and just quick touching on the transition out of the Marine Corps, I guess what were some of the biggest obstacles that you faced, if you haven't talked about them already, and just if you had a couple of do's or don'ts that advice you would give to some young person getting out soon?
Yeah, it's easy for me to say it now, but just don't be afraid to ask for help, like maybe pick up the phone, call your buddy you're in the military with, or whoever you feel comfortable with, just kind of chat with them, open up a little bit. As a man, we have these egos, even we don't really want to discuss about it, but you just got to keep your buddy in check, like just reach out to your friend.
Yeah.
There's plenty of help out there.
That's good advice because we talk about egos a lot on this podcast. So.
And if you notice, like a lot of the guys that realized we struggled and then know where to go, it's like now it's like the common thing is like reach out, talk to people. Like it's okay that you're struggling, right? You don't have to keep that to yourself. So that's kind of a common response I think we get across the board is that transition.
It seems like this is always, it's a common theme, but it's always years afterwards, right? And it's like such a hard lesson to learn. And if somebody would have told me this when I was young and would have got out of the Marine Corps, I would have probably ignored it. And I think you almost have to go through it. You almost have to go through a couple of hard times, I mean, I saw a quote the other day and it was like, you don't learn how to get through hardship without going through hardship. Mm-hmm. And kind of resonated with me because, kind of makes you who you are whenever you can actually get through some hard things.
And also you can't appreciate the good times till you go through the rough times.
That's right. Yeah. Same line. I want to talk, and I feel like I don't want to feel like I'm rushing through the Marine Corps and, the transition, but I really want to talk about, that next step in your life of being an entrepreneur. When did that kind of get put in your head? And, was that something you kind of always wanted to do, or was it something you found later in life? And kind of let's talk about your kind of business career.
Yeah. So it's the transition from coming out of the Marine Corps goes into like the business, how I got into it. So I need to get my feet back on the ground and running. I was just kind of lost. So I was like, I just need to move back home. So that's what I did. Move back to my home area. I had this business idea in mind. I couldn't focus on it where I was currently living out of town. So that's where I just regrouped, pretty well restarted everything. I had a new truck, I had a Harley, sold everything. And I was like, I'm going to stab at this business. I've taken zero business classes, but I know how to set it up right. So,
hold on. How did you learn that?
So for my time within Duke Energy,
Yeah.
I was so passionate. I think that's where the Marine Corps comes in play also. Like within Duke Energy, there's a big morale of like linemen. They're proud of what they do. And I fed in so well with those guys. They helped me out. And I was really passionate for my job for safety. Before I left Duke Energy, I was the Midwest safety representative for all the contractors working on the power lines for Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. So I met with all the different business owners and their safety professionals to really instill like the Duke Energy values of proper work zone setups. And so at that time, I was passionate, but I didn't realize what I was doing. I was doing the networking to set me up for success.
Sure.
When I started my new business. So I moved back home and started my company. That's where I really started getting grounded again, where I was focused on something bigger than who I really am, a business.
So by being on the ground and working with Duke Energy and meeting and certain connections and networking, that kind of put this idea in your head with already having your safety background, kind of really turned it into a passion. And then you started at Mid-America Safety Solutions, right?
That's correct.
And then what is like a brief, what do they do?
Yeah, so we provide traffic control from like flagging to detouring traffic. You see all the drums lined up on the highway.
The orange ones?
The horn, yeah.
He's that guy.
Yeah. I don't think you can find a person in Evansville who doesn't know what you're talking about right now.
If you think about a drum or barrel, they don't call in, so we love our barrels.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, best way to explain, we do the simplest job from flagging operations to shutting down major highways. We even had to shut down the Cincinnati airport one time.
Oh, wow.
Had to get the Coast Guard involved because we had to string new power lines across the Ohio River. We had to shut down the Ohio River. So big to small is what we do for traffic.
Interesting. And how long has this been around?
We're just got past 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
And then so that basically allowed you the opportunity to really pursue your passion in the outdoors, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So I was very passionate with Mid-America. I still really am. But my ultimate passion is the outdoors. That's where I find a lot of like who I really am, like that deer hunting to fishing, anything recreational outside.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to design a boat for my deer hunting needs. So
yeah,
I'm not sure if you want to go into all that.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was using a kayak after moving back home for like trying to get some secluded spots. And I was doing some waterway access. I was using a kayak. I filmed my stuff too, my bow, all my gear. And I was like, this ain't working out because you think about a kayak's more like it'll tip over on you,
Yeah.
So I was just trying to buy a duck boat. And I called a gentleman down in Arkansas. He's like, oh, man, I don't feel like building these boats anymore. They're homemade boats. He's like, I'll sell you this mold. I said, I'll buy the mold. So I bought, before I know it, I was coming back home to Indiana with just a homemade mold where I made fiberglass boats with resin. And I redesigned that with some engineers. And that's when we launched what everybody knows now is Waterfeather.
Okay. And what year was this?
We launched Waterfeather in 2023.
So it was built out of an idea and a necessity from hunting, where you're like, man, I need something better than this, and I'm just going to do it myself.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then, and then shortly thereafter, of course, you acquired Novix. Is that correct? Or how that worked out?
Yeah. So, being part of Waterfeather, going to different shows, expos from like down to Florida to NWTF in Nashville, Tennessee, all around Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, just being really involved with the expos and shows. I was doing a lot of networking too, and I hunt for a group called Whitetail Edge. So that led me to, I was using a Novix because they're a partnership between Whitetail Edge and Novix.
Yeah.
And I always believed in Novix. And then I was asked by Ben Rising, the owner of Whitetail Edge, like, hey, you want to buy Novix? I'm like, man, that's an incredible opportunity, but I don't know if I can handle that. And go back to the Marine Corps, like, heck yeah, I can handle it. And I can squeeze it in, right? So
yeah, you've got two companies. Why not add a third on there, huh?
That's right. So I just buckle down. And I said, picked up the phone and said, yeah, we're going to do this. And this is what I really love to do. I love the outdoor industry. It's like the good old boy club.
Yeah.
So here we are. And now Novix is landed here in Evansville, Indiana.
That's wild, man. And so talk a little bit about Novix and kind of what they make and what they do.
Yeah, it's American-made tree stand. So that definitely parallels together of a veteran and all products are American-made. Same with the boat. The Waterfeather is American-made too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's mostly tree stands, cast aluminum to fabricated aluminum. From ladder stands to hang-ons. That's Novix Outdoors. But we got some big plans in place. We're going to kind of diversify a little bit.
There you go.
That's the fun piece of business.
I was going to say, I mean, I feel like you have a lot of freedom to kind of take the companies in any direction you really want, right? Like you're the top person. So, it's just, it feels like you just have the freedom to kind of do whatever you want at this point, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it's that Marine Corps attitude. Just keep on going.
Yeah.
Sleep later.
Yeah. No, we were chatting a little bit before the show about that,
But I think so. Obviously that side of things really interests me because, I love business. I love kind of jumping into those things. But when you are the top guy, like Paul talks about, like there's a lot of things behind the scenes people they don't always see, right? They don't see the sleepless nights and okay, how am I going to make this work? How do I, how do I look at this from 30,000 feet and put it all together, right? Obviously in the beginning of your companies, I'm sure there were some struggles, like every other company, it's tough. It's not all rainbows and unicorns like everybody thinks when you own a business. So like, what did it look for? Like when you went through those hard times, was it just I got to figure this out? Or, what kind of drove you to be successful in that?
That's a good point. Makes me think of a Marine Vietnam veteran I know real well. Before I started my own business, he said, let me tell you something. You're going to be married to that business. You're married now, but this is going to be your second marriage. It's not going to go away. You got to make sure you keep it happy. Just treat it just like a new marriage. And it definitely parallels together because it's you just, like you said, you're always got to figure it out. Like there's so many things behind the scenes that you don't see. Like what you see is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely challenges every day. You feel like you don't have enough time. It's just constantly grinding. But people are just kind of made for that, Brian. Like you're just geared that way.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad some days, but it definitely is. It takes a different mentality, I think, to figure that out because everybody, when it's kind of like being in charge of a platoon, everybody's looking at you like, hey, this isn't working. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Push left.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like
better have an answer for them.
I'm constantly at T intersections. I'm like, let's push left today. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's some great advice there.
Yeah. Just talking about the stress of it, right? Like I don't have the experience that you guys do in this, but what would you pull on to kind of keep you grounded, and kind of make sure you've got it all lined out and priorities straight,
Yeah. If you talk to a lot of the guys I'm around with like business and stuff who I work with every day, like they always ask me, how do you keep everything so like aligned? You don't get stressed out. You don't freak out. I really think it kind of goes back to the Marine Corps. You can always relate things to the Marine Corps. If I went through Afghanistan looking for roadside bombs, I should be able to run business, right? There's no need for me to be stressed out over business. It's going to be right. I'll be there the next day. Sometimes you got to step back and take a breather, then reapproach it from a different angle.
It's a good point, man. Like having those outlets to kind of escape from it all. And, I would assume that hunting is probably one of your escapes. I know it is for me, but
it definitely is. Yeah. That's where it's my time where I really step back and I can my mind just relieves. I'm just at peace. And I just, if I'm not doing my outdoor stuff, I'm like, go nonstop.
Yeah.
But when I put my boots on and go outside in the woods, things just slow down.
Oh yeah. You got 3-4 hours, sometimes longer or shorter of just completely alone, sometimes completely alone to just think. It's like, how often do you get that during the day when you're not hunting? I know time is limited for me. I mean, usually like when I'm in my truck driving for 20 minutes is about the only real alone time I get. But I definitely cherish those times when I can get out and just kind of get away from everything. And I know like years ago, just what hunting has done for me in like a mental health capacity, right? The thing is that hunting, I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of military folks, right? You probably met a lot of hunters in the military, and there are a lot of guys that do it. And, a lot of them are kind of good old boys that grew up doing it, and then they just, naturally inclined to join the military, and then they want to keep doing it. But, you get to a point where you don't have, time, money, or resources to do it. And you just, I remember I went turkey hunting for the first time in my life, and I loved it. And I had to miss the next 5 seasons because I was deployed or training the whole time. And it just like crushes your spirit. And I was, going through some dark times, probably, halfway through my career, just kind of lost and not knowing what I was doing. And I loved hunting, but I never had time to do it. And I had a buddy ask me if I wanted to go on a hunt out in Wyoming to hunt elk for free through a veteran nonprofit. And I was just like, yeah, why not? And dude, just being out in the mountains with 3 other guys, one I knew, the other 2 I didn't know, and just being able to hang out at a lodge and just kind of really let go of all the stress and anxiety in life, man, it like saved me. And then I just dove headfirst into it. And now I'm just constantly out there hitting these opportunities to get a chance to hang out with my buddies and travel and, just go out and hunt. And it helps me immensely. And, everybody's got their different thing, but for me, that was great. And I was curious if you have the same kind of approach. It sounds like you do.
Absolutely. Everybody wants something to look forward to, right? Like some people like vacation, look for that next vacation. I look forward to the next hunt. Like you're talking about, like just everything just slows down. And even if it don't have to be a hunt, it could be like doing a food plot. I'm at peace. I'm just in my tractor putting seed in the ground. It's just,
sure.
Things just slow down.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's, man, just being able to slow down when you want to, not when people are telling you to.
That's
right.
A
big difference in that, right? I'm sure you guys both hear, you need to slow down. You're doing too many things right now. I hear it all the time. And I always say, look, there's one person in this world that can tell me when my tank is half full and you're not her. So lay off, I got this. But
I think that's an important point too. Is I don't hunt, right? My piece is going to the lake, even if it's just floating out on my boat and nothing. It's just that's my place. But I think it's important for guys to find whatever that is, right, and make time for it. Like it has to happen, And in the summer, like it's literally on my calendar. My employees know out of the office, like, and don't call me unless something's on fire because I'm resetting. And I think it's important that guys, not even as business owners, just everybody in general is just finding time for yourself because you got to have that.
Schedule that reset time.
Yeah.
Don't just wait for it and hopefully it happens, but actually put it on a calendar, like you said, like knowing that there's something coming up and you can put it on your calendar. I mean, hell, we're going to be at National Wild Turkey Federation in Nashville in a couple weeks, and I've been looking at that date on my calendar for a month now, being like, all right, we got something. We're going to hang out with a bunch of really cool dudes and meet different people, and, it'll be fun. So it's a good way to decompress. I know
Brian, you brought a good point, how you got to reset. It's fair for your family too. Your family wants you to reset, step away from business too. It's very easy for you to keep on grinding and you let that distraction pull you away from your family. In the day, your family is the most important thing you got.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it's easy. Life in general, but then you got 2 or 3 businesses and they're all needing something from you. It's hard to, sit on the couch and talk to your kid at the end of the day about their day at school when you're thinking about all these things in your head that like, yeah, buddy, okay, I got to figure out, payrolls this week. We got this, taxes. I'm trying to do this. It's a lot, man. It's, it definitely takes some work. It does for me. Like I have to literally sit back and like, hey dude, like where are you at? Like in the moment, being in the moment instead of, like you said, it'll be here tomorrow. It'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
That's right.
like being present.
Absolutely.
I was just telling Brian before this that I literally wrote down a daily schedule that I'm sticking to just to make sure I don't miss anything, and building consistency to build the discipline to live this lifestyle. Right. And man, it's hard at first, but how many days you got to do it before it sticks in?
I think it's 14 days before it becomes a habit.
I'm only on a couple days right now. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, I will purposely, when I get home, if my kids are home, they usually get home about 3:00 from school. I put my phone in a drawer and I don't touch it until I put them to bed at night. Because if I don't, I'll be sitting on it, texting somebody or emailing somebody and not paying attention to them. And I don't think that's fair to them, right? So it's like when I'm home, I try to give all of my energy to them, which is not much, but it's better than me sitting on a phone all day long. So I don't know if do you have any kind of habits that you build in like that, or good things how you can keep them separated and still have time for both?
I should, but I really don't. I need to focus more on that. Talking about egos earlier, right?
Yeah.
I just need to put myself back in check, step back. What's really important to my family, I need to put that phone down until they go to bed, and then revisit the business stuff after they go to bed. Yeah.
That's and usually about 8:00. I'll pull it back up to see what I missed, and I'll respond to somebody. But then I got to put it back down because it'll just be spiraling in my head all night, which I'm sure you guys have had a few nights like that where you just.
Last night, 0300 hours, my brain is full go, full send.
Yeah. But, even to your point, a long time ago, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's, the Marine Corps is going to keep going, like you need to take care of your family because the Marine Corps is going to keep going without you one way or another. It's a machine that keeps rolling. But if you ignore your family, I mean, that's the only ones that are going to hopefully be there for you whenever you're 90 years old. And the Marine Corps is not going to care about you anymore. So you can't put them, and I think probably you could apply the same thing to business, right? Nobody at that business is going to care about you whenever you're 85, but your kids hopefully will. So
that's a serious point. You're exactly right.
Having that, but I know, go ahead.
I've got some friends that are very successful that are older than me, and I always try to look to them like, hey, what would you have done differently, right? I'm in my mid-40s. What does this look like for you? And they said, they spent majority of their life trying to build their empire, whatever that may be, right? In hopes of passing it on to their children and stuff. But every one of my buddies that have done that were like, I wish that I would have taken more time for my family instead of building this empire, right, to pass down, but I missed all these other things. So, I think if we try to do better, and it's hard, those things are hard, but, being intentional about putting your phone up, and I struggle with that. I hear it go off, and I like to get things done. So I hear email go off, I feel like I got to respond to it, right? And I really struggle with that. That is something I have to do better about.
It's hard.
One good thing, like being a business owner, is that family is the most important thing to me. Is that I do take my kids to school every day and pick them up, so I get that time with them. Nice. So I think about how I'm driving around quite a bit, but it's like I can make it work because this is the most important thing. I just make my phone calls while I'm driving. I can be behind my laptop. So like one thing when I get older, let's say I'm 80 years old, there's one thing that I would be proud to say I spent a lot of time with my kids.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got, 3 companies right now that you're running. Like what's the magic sauce, man? Like, how do you do it? Like, I'm always impressed when we talk, just how you're able to keep all this together.
Tell me, brother, how you do it?
Yeah. I want to know because I want to take a little bit of that.
Yeah. We kind of talked about a second ago, but really it's just, you have to be patient. You cannot we always talk about like 9% of life's mental, Yeah. It's all about that 10% 10% is what happens to us. 90% is all mental, how we react, right? So there's no need to get all stressed out and just lose your mind. You just got to like start dissecting things one at a time and start prioritizing what's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And start doing the best you can. I go to bed every night knowing I gave it my full all. So if something doesn't go right the next day, I did my very best. That's how I find comfort.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that because I've tried to, like, my old life made way more sense to me, right? Like I could show up and I was just comfortable in that. But it was done by prioritizing. Like, hey, we're in a house and we got to clear this room. First priority is open door. I can't pass that open door, right? So now I'm trying to like bring that into this life. Okay, what are all the problems today? What's my first priority? Check. That problem's done, right? That door's closed. Move down the hallway. This door's open. Check. So I'm trying to figure out a way where my brain understands like this is the way you work these problems in this world. And I think that's helped me some. It's kind of making me look at things from 30,000 feet instead of like overwhelming. It's like by prioritizing it. And I brought that from my old life.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah. So I did have a question about, so your passion is the outdoors and hunting and fishing. Does owning companies in that industry, how does that affect that passion? Because I've heard stories of guys who were really into hunting and they wanted to go be game wardens, and they became game wardens and they find themselves just never having time to hunt and being around it. You know what I mean?
Right. I was pretty cautious when I acquired Novix back in June 2025. It's like, because I just love deer hunting so much. It's like people always say you don't want to work in the field where your hobby's at.
Yeah. And
I just love it so much. I want to talk about tree stands. I want to talk about deer or anything out. How can we make your life better, make your hobby better? I love it.
So it's something that's really just kind of reinforced that passion rather than become like a hindrance or annoying it, I guess you're not getting tired of having to go out and hunt to shoot, any type of content or to test a stand or, anything like that.
Right. I guess now my best office is in the tree stand. So that's where I love to be. So
yeah. Well, hell, if you're going to get paid doing something you love, man, it's like, that's like the winning ticket, right? I think that's what everybody's looking for.
It gave me more of a drive too. Like, I'm already ate up with this stuff. Now I'm like dissecting more. How can I improve myself and my hunting skills? I'm not just hunting here in Indiana. Now I'm like in Illinois. Like Thursday, Friday, I was over in Ohio, like just trying to have fun with it. And it just gave me a whole new gear in my motor. So
yeah, I know. I think we were talking a couple weeks ago and he was on his, I think on your way to Kansas.
Probably so, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we're going to get in there at, midnight and I got to wake up at 3 to be at a stand. And I was just like, man, is it turning into work or is it still fun? And you were like, well, it kind of reminds me of the Marine Corps, doing a lot with a little bit of sleep all day long.
Get an hour and a half nap, drove like 8 hours. Yeah. And then took an hour and a half nap. And before you know it, at daybreak, I was sitting in Novix tree stand.
Yeah.
Back in my office.
So, yeah, I love that. Gosh, what a thing to do. So what, without disclosing too many of the secrets, so like what's next for Waterfeather? What's next for Novix? Kind of what direction do you want to take the companies and kind of what are you guys looking at?
Yeah, so we're actually hiring a new project manager starting here within a month. And there's so many things moving around, our ideas. Brainstorm is great, but now it's time to put it in action. That's where that project manager is going to really help spearhead the innovation of 2026 and 27, even 28. Both for like Novix and Waterfeather, there's going to be a lot more new products going to be being offered. And it's a lot of, I love that piece.
Yeah.
Because I love seeing the people's excitement of like something new, like a new release. People are like, oh, here we go. Yeah, that's cool. I got to have that.
Yeah.
And that's why I enjoy these shows and expos too, because people are just so fired up. You feel the energy. They're excited to talk to you about the products and what's the road ahead. That's also what really keeps me driving too, just that excitement.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could see that. And I know we've talked before about, really kind of establishing that veteran owned part of this, right? Speak to that just a little bit for me and kind of where you see that headed.
Yeah, so we're going to try to do more of veteran outreach. I was not in law enforcement, but definitely, like you, Brian, you spent 20 years, like that's very honorable to do 20 years of service. So we're going to do more of veteran outreach, also law enforcement outreach, and just try and bring that community more together. Like I feel like that's kind of missing a little bit in the hunting industry, and hopefully we're going to be the first one that really tries to tackle that.
That's cool. Yeah.
That'd be awesome. And we've learned, and I've learned, with some other buddies, but even especially since Paul and I have gotten closer, there's a lot of things that intermingle between military and law enforcement, right? A lot of the same stuff. So I think that would be pretty awesome if you guys could bring those more together. And, you know, obviously a lot of law enforcement were prior military, and it all kind of fits. So that would be awesome to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, but it's like when it comes to like the mentality of those two, they're all cut from the same cloth. You know, one person just went left and the other person went right, but they're all generally the same kind of dudes or people. And even to like really good, like, man, this guy would have been awesome in my platoon. You know, they would probably say the same thing about you on their team or whatever. And then of course you've always got the, you know, the ones that need a little extra help, and, you know, you can identify that in every world too. So it's kind of fun seeing those parallels a lot, but
awesome.
I mean, I think it's really cool that, you know, I had met Jeff, 12 years ago, maybe. We were at a beer stube in St. Wendell.
Yeah.
And just said, hey, how's it going? And didn't talk to him for probably 11 years. And then I started working at Mission First as a veteran nonprofit. And a lot of people kept saying, hey, you got to meet Jeff. You got to meet Jeff. I know you like to hunt, and he's a vet, and he likes to hunt. You got to meet him. And finally, we just connected on the phone one day, and turns out he just said, hey, you know, this kind of ties into, you know, the veteran kind of outreach and kind of that veteran-owned company and supporting veterans. He said, hey, we'd like to do a deal with Novix and donating some of the proceeds this month to Mission First. And I said, man, that sounds awesome, you know? And that's when I got my 5 minutes of fame, when I said, oh, you got a new tree stand called a Raider, huh? Well, I'm a Marine Raider. I can help you with that. And then it's on YouTube now, me talking about hunting. And, you know, we really built that relationship there. And Jeff, I want to thank you again. I know I've told you before, but, you know, like, again, back to that time and money and resources, right? Like, I thought I'd have all this time when I got out to be able to hunt and enjoy it. But, you know, I get so busy with everything else that, you know, I don't have time for hardly anything. And Jeff opened his door to me and let me do a deer hunt out there this year. And I was able to harvest a really nice buck. So it's been great being able to do that, man. And I know we talk about it all the time, but I'm looking forward to, I want to continue to help you and Novix and Waterfeather and anything else, man. I mean, if we're not at least trying to see our friends reach as high as they can, then what are we doing? You know, and same to you there, Brian. So we're out here trying to just help each other out, and that's the way it should be. Learning from each other and talking about our mistakes, and, you know, usually learning from all of our mistakes. But it's important to talk about it. There's hopefully somebody out there that got something from this. So
I think there's, especially, you know, it seems just from hearing your story, you took a lot from the Marine Corps and you plugged it into your life, right? And I think that for those guys or younger guys that are, you know, currently in or moving to that next chapter of life, like, if you can bring that from that life and put it into this new life, like, this is where it can get you. You know, you got to have that just, I'm not going to give up. You know, I'm going to keep grinding it out, and I'm going to make it work. And you know, you were able to take what you learned from the Marine Corps and build your life, man. So that's amazing, and hopefully it gives other guys hope. You know, that's not, you know, just because you no longer wear that uniform doesn't mean it's still not part of you.
That's right. It's never going to go away. It's always back in your mind being prior service, but just got to buckle down and get through it.
Well, Jeff, thank you for coming out here today, man, and sharing your story. I've been excited to have you on for a while now. And thanks for tuning in. This is another episode of The Watch and the War.